Hi guys. Okay, so first we're going to talk a little bit about the story we're about to read. Okay, it is Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Now, in this story, this little girl is very curious. That means she wants to know what's going on. She wants to know everything. And it kind of being curious can also be a little nosy. Okay, it means you kind of want to know everything. So that's what she's doing. And she walks into the woods. She's surprised by what she finds. She's very surprised. And in this story, the little girl and the three bears eat porridge for breakfast. Now, porridge is oatmeal. Okay, I'm showing you a picture right now. You see it? Oatmeal is a hot cereal. Now, you like cereal, right? Some kinds of cereal, probably the sugary kind, the pretty kind. Well, porridge is like oatmeal, okay? You've had oatmeal, you know that. Okay, now this picture right here, do you think it's hot or cold? It's hot. How do you know that? Because of the lines. It's supposed to be steam coming up. Yeah, that's steam. Now, in this story, the bears live in a little cottage, which is a little house in the woods. Okay? Now, there is another word. Cottage is just another word for a small house. Let me show you. See? It's just a cute little house, but it's called a cottage. Okay? So, let's get started. Okay, so let me get my little thing going. Now, boys and girls, I want you to listen very carefully while I'm reading. Don't just sit there and kind of stare at the TV or something, because I want you to listen to find out whether or not Goldilocks is a nice little girl. I want you to think about, listen to this. When Goldilocks is in the bear's house, what does she do? Okay. And then what do you think Goldilocks might find in the bear's house? What do you predict the bears are going to do? How are they going to feel about a little girl being in their house while they're away? Whew. So I want you to think about, what do you think the bears are going to do? Well, if you know the story, then you know. How do you think that makes them feel? I don't know. Well, let's get started, okay? Here we go. Okay. So I'm going to hold up the page so you can see it, and then I'm going to be reading, okay? So you can see the pretty picture. Once upon a time, there were three bears who lived in a house in the forest. That's one of our words, forest. There was a great big papa bear, a middle-sized mama bear, and a tiny little baby bear. Another word, tiny. One morning, Papa Bear cooked some delicious porridge for the bears' breakfast. When it was ready, Papa Bear poured his own porridge into a giant, great big bowl. Next, he poured Mama Bear's porridge into a middle-sized bowl. Finally, that's another one of our words. Finally, Papa Bear poured Baby Bear's porridge into a tiny little, another word, tiny little bowl. He placed each bowl on the kitchen table. Then, while they waited for the hot porridge to cool, the three bears went for a walk in the woods. What do you think might happen when the bears are away? I don't know. Hopefully, the porridge will get cool. That's what I'm thinking. Well, that very same morning, a golden-haired girl named Goldilocks had also gone for a walk in the woods. Remember, in the woods is like a forest. However, Goldilocks lost her way and came upon the bear's cottage. Remember, a cottage is like a little house. Goldilocks saw an open window. She peeked inside the cottage. No one was there, but she spotted 3 bowls of porridge on the table. Goldilocks went inside. She was hungry and decided to eat the porridge. Oh my. First, she used the great big spoon to taste the porridge in the great big bowl. Too hot, said Goldilocks. Next, Goldilocks used the middle-sized spoon to taste the porridge in the middle-sized bowl. Too cold, said Goldilocks. Finally, using the tiny little spoon, she tasted the porridge in the tiny little bowl. You know that word, that means small. Whose porridge was in the tiny little bowl, guys? Baby Bear's, you're right. And she says, just right. And she gobbled it up. Now Goldilocks looked around the room and she saw a great big chair, a middle-sized chair, and a little tiny chair. Oh. And she says, I'm tired. So she sat down in the great big chair, but it was too hard. This one right here. Next, Goldilocks sat down in the middle-sized chair right here, but it was too soft. Finally, she sat down in the little tiny chair. And just as she was thinking that the little tiny chair was just right, crash! The chair broke into pieces. Goldilocks fell to the floor. Goldilocks stood right up and was startled. Oh, that's one of our words. To see that the chair had broken into pieces. She was still tired, so she looked for another place to rest. She went upstairs and found 3 beds. There was a great big bed, a middle-sized bed, and a little teeny tiny bed. See the great big bed, middle-sized bed, and the teeny tiny bed. So this would be Papa Bear's, Mama Bear's, and Baby Bear's, right? As Goldilocks slept, the 3 bears returned from their walk. Oh no. They sat down to eat and knew right away that something was wrong. Papa Bear looked at his great big bowl. He cried out in a loud voice, "Someone has been eating my porridge." Mama Bear looked at her middle-sized bowl, and she said in her middle-sized voice, "Someone has been eating my porridge." Then Baby Bear looked at his little tiny bowl, and he squeaked in his little tiny voice, "Someone's been eating my porridge, and he has eaten it all up." Oh my. What was wrong with their porridge? Yeah. Somebody has been eating it. Oh no. I don't think I'd want to be in a house with bears. No. Then the 3 bears looked around. Papa Bear looked at his great big chair. Oh, I'm a page ahead. He cried out in his great big voice, "Someone has been sitting in my chair." Mama Bear looked at her middle-sized chair and said, "Someone's been sitting in my chair." And then the Baby Bear looked at his little tiny chair and he squeaked in his little tiny voice, "Someone's been sitting in my chair and it has broken it all to pieces." Oh no. The 3 bears then ran upstairs to the bedroom. Papa Bear looked at his great big bed and he said in his great big voice, "Someone's been sleeping in my bed." And Mama Bear looked at her middle-sized bed and said, "Someone's been sleeping in my bed." Then Baby Bear looked at his little tiny bed and squeaked in his little tiny voice, "Someone's been sleeping in my bed, and she still is." At that moment, Goldilocks woke up. She she saw the three bears standing over her, and she was shocked and afraid. Oh my goodness. So she scrambled. I mean, she kind of quickly got up and tried to get her feet going. She scrambled out of the tiny bed, ran down the stairs out of the cottage. The three bears never saw Goldilocks again. Oh, wow. Ugh. So, who went into the bears' cottage while the bears were out for a walk? Goldilocks, you're right. Now, why did Goldilocks like Baby Bear's porridge, his chair, and his bed the best? You remember what she said? She said, this is just right. That means she thought it was, the porridge was not too hot and not too cold, the right temperature. And then the chair, Daddy's chair was too hard, Mommy's chair was too soft, and the baby's chair was comfortable, just right. And then when she went upstairs and she was trying the beds, some might be too lumpy or too smooth, but the baby's bed was just right. How did Goldilocks feel when she woke up and saw the three bears looking down at her? Yeah, I think she was startled. She was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, she was shocked and she was afraid. She was scared. How do you think the three bears felt when they came home and there was a stranger eating their food and sitting in their chairs and sleeping in their beds? What do you think? Well, that's what you're going to tell me, okay? I want you to make a video and tell me, how do you think the bears felt? We know how Goldilocks felt, but how do you think the bears felt about all this? Coming home and seeing someone in your house, okay? Make a video and tell me, how do you think the daddy felt? How did the mommy feel? And how did the baby feel? What would you have done if you were in this story and that was your house? You came home and someone was sleeping in your bed. What would you do? Tell me, okay? Okay, I can't wait to see your video. Bye, guys.